The Shuoer S12 has always been my favorite planar driver, of course for personal reasons and for my playlist, but right now they have released the Pro version of it. I know I'm a bit late, but it's better to be late than never at all, right? So hello and welcome to Aftersound review, and this is my review for the Shuoer S12 Pro that's cost only $135 and it's using single planar driver. And just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. Regarding the build quality, if you are familiar with the Shuoer S12, this is actually exactly the same with the Shuoer S12. Exactly the same size, exactly the same feel, and yeah, overall it's exactly the same. I think they are using aluminum, very lightweight but feels quite durable. Maybe the difference I find is in their nozzle, especially the filter here, but the size is actually the same. And also they're using the same dual pin connectors. By the way, this is not their stock cable. Here you go, the stock cable of the Shuoer S12 is exactly the same feel, the same consistency, and yeah, overall the same simply, but the primary difference is in its connector. The connector of the S12 Pro, even though it's slightly bigger, it is actually interchangeable, so you can easily swap them with the other connectors, while you can't do the same thing with the Shuoer S12 stock cable. And one thing I find to be different is also on their stock tips. Well, you might be familiar with this Shuoer S12 black tips that I somehow really like, but apparently not a lot of people like it. I really like the stickiness of them. This is the new stock tips from the Shuoer S12 Pro. It's more like a genuine chi-fi kind of ear tips, but that's just a minor difference. In terms of ergonomics, I got the same problem as the S12. My personal problem is not with the housing shape, but it's more with the cable. That's why I changed my stock cable from the usual S12. Their default cable, somehow the arch of the cable is so far from my ears, and the cable itself is really heavy and thick. So when I'm walking or just swaying my head like that, sometimes it's easy for me to yank and change the position of the IM itself, because it's basically doesn't really hook itself to my ears, and it's easily yanked like this because of how heavy the cable is. Well, I'd like to give you a little bit of information, maybe just my perception here. You know, in the last of my videos for my favorite IM, I say that, yeah, my favorite IM is the Sennheiser i600. It is tuned beautifully, somehow V-shaped-ish, and it's a single dynamic driver. I love single dynamic driver IMs. Of course, it's a very personal matter, it's very subjective. But the thing that I find amazing about the S12 Pro that makes me really like it, because it reminds me of how the IE600 sounds. It has energetic kind of sounds, but the mid-range is very well controlled. It has a lot amount of bass energy and also energetic treble, but the mid-range is somehow really well controlled, and it's not shouty, it's not sibilant, it's not sharp. Although yeah, the treble can be a little bit on aggressive side, but the mid-range is still very well controlled. That's what I really love, and apparently their frequency response is quite similar here and there. Of course, I do think that the i600 is definitely more superior, but now it's about the S12 Pro here. Simply said, yeah, it's still a V-shaped kind of IM with a lot of energy, a lot of dynamics, but the mid-range is somehow quite well controlled and well balanced. Starting from the bass area, it's definitely energetic, punchy, a lot of mid-bass, a lot of sub-bass that makes every kind of song sound energetic and pumping, and really makes you want to dance because of how energetic it is. Simply say, if you hear EDMs, electronic music, even hip-hop, even pop songs or rock, yeah, it could definitely do a lot of that. Maybe just a little bit not really tight enough for some really fast-paced rock music. But other than that, I find that the treble and about the bass, it's a really fun and well controlled bass. Now going to the mid-range, even though it's not ideal, I do find that the mid-range is still favoring towards female and also upper vocal voices. But I do feel that I can enjoy this IM, even though it's leaning towards V-shape. Female vocal sounds a little bit more forward than male, yeah, like typical V-shape, but the control, clarity, and it's really good for this IM, and also its absence of sibilance and shoutiness. It's still leaning towards a little bit thin, but it's still well controlled, and yeah, I simply can still enjoy vocalists like Diana Krall or Joyce Chu from this IM. It's not ideal, but I can enjoy it, I can accept it. It's just a well controlled mid-range, even though it has a lot of energy in both bass and treble, and it does just a little bit recessed compared to the bass and treble, but you can still feel the presence. It's not overly recessed. Treble is also the thing that I like with this IM. Just for information here, I like treble. I like a lot of treble energy, but I hate sibilance. I hate sibilance and metallicness, and this IM for me is really good for that. The treble is just the treble impact, the treble transients. It's all really good for violins, for cymbals, sounds energetic and fun. It has a lot of good bite, not overly biting like aggressively metallic kind of sound. It's very well controlled, but in a kind of aggressive way. So personally, I really like it, but I do understand if you are really sensitive to treble, maybe you want to avoid this because it's forward. The treble is still forward. Treble, personally, I really enjoyed hearing La Campanella, La Primavera, or music like violins for Lindsay Stirling, or some orchestral music like Two Steps from Hell. It gives a lot of liveliness for that percussion, violins, and trumpets. I just really love the treble here, but I can definitely understand it's not for everyone. It's just for you. If you like treble, you gotta try this because it's a really good treble here. Also, the good thing doesn't stop there. I do feel that the technical is amazing. Still, for $135, I would say that it is simply the most resolving and the best resolution IM I've ever heard for around its price point. Only maybe on the same level as its normal brother, the Shuoer S12. I consider them both to be at the same level of resolution, detail, soundstage, and imaging. Still, for the price point, for under $150, I still find that the two of them are simply the king. They are maybe not as fast as the Dioko, maybe the treble is not as extended as the Dioko either, but in terms of imaging, soundstage depth, and overall presentation of technicality, I would still say that they are simply the best for $150 and below. So its only rival is its normal brother, the Shuoer S12, the normal one. So if you are searching for technicality, definitely go for them because they are amazing in that. And it's a full rounded kind of technicality. Now it's time for direct comparison. How do they perform with its normal brother, the Shuoer S12? Well, simply said, in terms of technical, they are, like I said, they are on the same level. So the difference is mainly only on the cosmetic, on the replaceable jack disc, and also their tuning. Even though they both are still leaning towards V-shape kind of sound, and for me personally, it's an enjoyable kind of V-shape. I know it could be a little bit aggressive for some people, but it's still on my enjoyable territory. The Shuoer S12, simply said, like the frequency response shows, it's more aggressive in the upper mid-range. But I think that's it. Really, I think that's it. The upper mid-range is more forward, therefore making female vocals sound a little bit more thin and strident, and male vocals somehow a little bit hollow, not It's yeah, simply just like that. But other than that, I find the bass energy, treble energy to be really similar. The main difference is only about the mid-range area. So simply said, the Shuoer S12 Pro is the more all-rounder one, making, even though they only cut the upper mid-range, but I do feel somehow that the male vocals sound a little bit full here, and the female sounds not as strident, as thin as the S12, the normal S12. Simply said, it's the more, a little bit thicker sounding S12 with a more all-rounder kind of presentation. Comparing this I am with the maybe Timeless, well, I don't want to compare with the Timeless AE. For me, Timeless and Timeless AE is on the same level simply, but the Timeless AE has more sub bass, but that's it. I do find that the Timeless or Timeless AE has more tamer treble, but bigger mid bass, to the point that I find them to be a little bit bloated. That's why I do prefer the S12 or S12 Pro. And also in regards of soundstage, I do feel that the Timeless and Timeless AE is only a little bit wider in terms of width presentation, but they don't have depth. In terms of depth, imaging, the 3D presentation, I do find that the S12 and the S12 Pro to be better at that. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I could say about this IM. Simply said, for $135, yeah, it is my favorite. But I know if you are sensitive to a lot of treble, a lot of bass, maybe you are a little bit fatigued for a V-shaped kind of presentation, maybe you don't like this. But personally, I really enjoy it. Maybe the thing that I will change for the S12 Pro, it's just, again, the cable. It's just torturing for me, the cable. I don't know, I just really hate the cable. But that's it. That's all I could say about this IM overall, and this is my final rank for its tonal and its technical, and this is my final score. And thank you for watching. That's all I could say. See you next time. Bye bye.